massive multiplayer online role-playing games, or MMORPGs, which I'll probably be calling them from that because, it's a huge handful, are games that I've played for over a decade at this point. But over the time playing them more and more, and then playing them even for this video, I've realized something that's really strange even though I've played these games for a long time. That's I don't really enjoy them. And it's strange to me because I feel like the reason I don't enjoy them is the first part of the MMORPG. I don't like the MMO part. I don't I generally enjoy the RPG part, but for the types of MMOs that I've played, and I will be talking about all of them, I just don't think I ever really played the MMO part of the MMORPG. And so I've been mostly playing an RPG with lag, which I feel like is not a good thing, which is why I don't think I like MMOs. In fact, I don't think I enjoy them at all because I'm just playing single player games with lag because I don't interact with the MMO part. And this is going back to the very first MMO that I ever played, which is Star Wars The Old Republic. The only reason I played that game was because I wanted to play through the story. I never really did the raids, I never did the dungeons, I never really did the PvP. I technically played that as a co-op game when it first came out because I played with my friends, but we were all playing to go through the story. We weren't like grinding levels to get to raiding or dungeons. We were all playing through the character stories and we wanted to see all the stories together. So that means the MMO part of this game we didn't really play. It was more like a co-op game that we played. And we didn't even play that far, to be fair, because we could never actually all four people play at the same time, even when we were in high school. So, or we'd just be playing different games. And so eventually I just started playing on my own and I realized that one, I enjoyed it more being alone, and I never once used the MMO part. I enjoyed playing swtor. I played through a lot of it at the time, and I made multiple characters, played through a bunch of the stories, enjoyed the stories, and eventually just continued playing it. But eventually, I stopped playing, mostly because I started playing other games, first of all. But another reason is that I kind of got bored of it because I wasn't really interacting with the game other than the story content. Now, to be fair, Star Wars The Old Republic is a slightly different because it is kind of made to be a single player RPG. Like playing the story is a big part of it. So it's one of the reasons why it was one of the first ones. And I'm a Star Wars fanboy, so that also helps, especially of The Old Republic. So it made sense for me to play that one first. But overall, it feels like it was just a single player RPG and for a long time a co op RPG, but for the most part, a single player RPG that I was just playing. And even though I do enjoy the tab targeting style of combat, it was the RPG part that I liked. The MMO part, though, I never once interacted with because I had zero interest in it. Actually, that's probably a lie. I probably played one or two dungeons, but I don't have any memories of it. Maybe I played PvP. I doubt it. I don't think I played PvP. And so then I kind of just didn't play MMOs after that for a while. And so while I was playing it, I did enjoy the RPG part of it. Because, I enjoyed leveling up, learning about the characters, talking, doing dialogue, doing all the regular RPG things that you do. Because to be fair, Star Wars: The Old Republic, it was basically built like a Bioware game because it was made by Bioware. So you had the dark side options, all the good dialogue stuff, and going through it more and more and thinking about it, I realized more and more I enjoyed the RPG side because building the character, learning the story, playing through the story, learning the characters, choosing the dialogue, being light side or good side. Though I'll be honest, if I was playing as the good guys, I'd always pick the good option, and if I was playing the bad guys, I wanted to be bad guy, but I always felt bad. I always felt bad being a bad guy. So, that's probably just a me thing, maybe. But I generally didn't want to choose the bad side, but as a bad guy, I felt like I needed to pick the dark side options, which is probably why I played a lot of the Republic side because I just enjoyed being the good guy more. But that might be just a me thing. So, in the end, the RPG side of Star Wars The Old Republic was what I really enjoyed. But the MMO side, I never really cared for. And which is one of the reasons why I slowly got away from it because I didn't care for doing the raids. I didn't care for trying to buy mounts because I was in the beginning before swtor became free to play, I was a subscriber. So I subscribed for like, I feel like at least a couple months. So I had incentive to play as much as possible, and while I did, it was more that I wanted to play through the story rather than grind mounts or do the raids or join a guild, or I don't think it was called guilds at the time. I don't know what it was called in swtor, I'll be honest. But it just shows like I just didn't care about that stuff. I was never interested in it. And so then as I was playing through the story, as I got my fill for the story, I stopped playing. And then I unsubscribed. And then to be fair, it went free to play, so I played a little bit when went free to play again, but for the same reasons. I wanted to play through the different stories, the characters that I didn't get to, or try the new stuff, the new content and stuff like that. Though I don't think I've ever actually gotten to the new content ever, honestly, because it takes so long to get there, and I am playing a single player RPG with lag. So I just eventually say, I don't want to do this anymore, and then stop. And it goes for the other MMOs I've played. After Star Wars, I did eventually play World of Warcraft, and I was very late on World of Warcraft, because the one I joined, it was Warlords of Draenor. And at least from the perception I got, not a lot of people enjoyed Warlords of Draenor because of the base that you got. And it kind of took away the MMO side, which is why I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed questing in World of Warcraft. I got to whatever the maximum level was in World of Warcraft at the time, and I really enjoyed playing through it, reading the quest. I didn't read that. Okay. I didn't read the quests, but I did do the quests. I really enjoyed leveling in World of Warcraft, just doing the quests, killing the monsters, collecting the stuff, collecting the bear hides. And doing that, I really enjoyed it. And then I think I played one dungeon, and that experience made me almost stop playing until I realized, okay, I just don't have to do it. And like for the Warlords of Draenor specific stuff, I really enjoyed the companion things, like sending your guys out on quests and stuff like that. And I get why other people didn't like it, but for me, I was like, oh, this is really cool because I like the RPG side of these games. Is just another cool RPG thing. And of course, the World of Warcraft, the leveling. I think I played a warrior. I played a damage warrior because once again, I wasn't caring about like raiding parties or dungeon parties, so I was just playing damage warrior. I think the dual wielding damage warrior at the time, and there is no way I was playing it optimally. I just enjoyed it, did the quests, and continued on, which is interesting because whenever I hear people talk about World of Warcraft or just MMOs in general, people talk about getting to raiding as fast as possible, and that's just never been what I've done. Biggest part of MMOs that I've enjoyed is the leveling process. Well, at least for World of Warcraft. For World of Warcraft, it was the leveling process. For Star Wars: The Old Republic, it was the story, which, to be fair, I think was a lot of people because it was a BioWare game when it first came out, so that makes sense. And for World of Warcraft, it was the leveling, which a lot of people don't like, and I was the opposite. I enjoyed the leveling and just didn't care for raiding because I stopped playing when I got to max level. I got to max level and I was like, oh, what do I do now? I don't want to raid. I'm not joining a guild. I don't care about dungeons. When I got to max level, I was like, oh, okay, well, do I care about the item grind? Not really, because the reason you do item grinds is generally for raids and stuff. And I think I played a little bit after once I got to max level because I wanted to do the command table stuff, if I remember correctly, that was called. And I think I was leveling the skills as well, but I can't remember. I don't think I ever maxed out a skill because I didn't really care that much. Then I stopped playing. So basically, when the RPG side of it stopped and the MMO started for me, I was like, I'm not interested. And after that, I really didn't play any MMOs at all. I dabbled in RuneScape a little bit, as you can tell. But once again, RuneScape, to be fair, RuneScape is very much a solo experience from what I can tell. Like, playing RuneScape by yourself is generally the one way that most people play RuneScape. Like, it's not really a group effort for RuneScape. They're like, don't get me wrong, there's tons of things you can do with the MMO side of RuneScape. But RuneScape, it's an online single player RPG, really. Like, most people I feel like would be playing this game just by themselves. So, like, that makes sense. And I'm a huge noob in RuneScape. And if there is an MMO technically that I am playing, it'd be RuneScape, which obviously, as you can tell, that's also a very different game than the other ones. Like, you can AFK play RuneScape very easily, obviously. And so it's different, I would say. And saying that I play RuneScape is probably too generous. I've played it a little bit. I have a few hours in RuneScape, and some of this was literally to get footage for this video because I wasn't subscribing to World of Warcraft again to, you know, get some background footage, or subscribing to swtor again, even though technically it is free to play, I guess. But this is the one that I just already happen to have installed. So I feel like even though I didn't really think about it, I realized to myself, like internally, that I wasn't really enjoying it anymore. And then the game, funny enough, that really proved to me that I did not enjoy the MMO side is when Amazon's New World came out. And I bought Amazon's New World on release, and I played that game for 50 hours. Now, when I say I played this game for 50 hours, it is true. I played the game for 50 hours. But when most people think of playing this game, they're thinking of doing the quests and then doing the PvP stuff, because that's kind of what New World was about. It was getting your quests, getting the combat stuff, doing the, I think there was dungeons on release, but they weren't that detailed, but it was mostly about getting to the PvP side for the territory stuff. What I did for 50 hours in New World was grind the cooking skill and the, oh god, I think it was the weaving skill. I remember going back and forth from a town to a field and gathering a bunch of those things in the field, going back to the town to craft things. It was the crafting side of New World. Maybe it wasn't cooking specifically, but it was all the crafting stuff. And the thing I realized at the 50-hour mark, and I do have to say, I enjoyed that side of it. But all the stuff I was crafting was to play the PvP stuff or do the quests, which I wasn't actually doing. And so I realized I'm weirdly trying to play a single player like cozy game in New World, which is weird. And I understand that was weird, and that's not what the game was really meant for. But another thing is that, okay, well, if I'm crafting stuff, like, then I could just sell it. I can do it on the auction house. I think there was an auction house, or there were planning to be one at some point. But I never did that because I didn't want to interact with anyone. I didn't care about the MMO side. And even though, like I said, I really enjoyed the time in New World that I played on launch, I realized that was the game. This is the game that made me realize I'm not playing these games correctly. And now, once again, can you play a video game correctly? I don't know. Maybe. But I definitely wasn't playing as intended, I feel like. And it got to the point where I was like, am I actually enjoying this? And after thinking about it, even though I don't regret the 50 hours of New World and the hours in Star Wars The Old Republic and World of Warcraft, it made me realize that I enjoy the RPG side, like I said before, but not the MMO side. So why am I playing games that have a server that I need to connect to a server where I can just play single player games? And that's kind of what I did until RuneScape, where I decided, you know what, I've heard so much stuff about RuneScape, so I'm going to try to play RuneScape. And because RuneScape is literally the game made to grind skills and do quests and not really interact with other people unless you want to, because the game never really expects you to. There's always something more to grind by yourself in RuneScape, which makes sense. And it's one of the reasons why I sort of gravitated towards it. And to be fair, I also watched a ton of YouTube videos on it as well. Like, I've seen tons of content about RuneScape, so I got curious about that as well. So I feel like overall, the big thing is that the MMOs that I've enjoyed, that I've played, I've been like the odd person. I've been the outlier for what I enjoyed in the game compared to what the general audience wants to play. I feel like in general, with the exception of swtor, because, you know, everyone wanted to play the single player story, or not the single player, the story of that game when it first came out. Sure, it is an MMO and people were hyped about the raids and stuff, but I feel like wanting to play the story of swtor isn't necessarily an outlier opinion for that one game specifically. But wanting to quest and level up in Warlords of Draenor for World of Warcraft was, I feel like, is definitely an outlier, because all I hear about is people wanting to raid and stuff. And for New World, I didn't care about PvP, and that was kind of like the PvP MMO. Like, it was kind of pitched as that for a lot of people. Like, they did have some questing and dungeons and stuff, but honestly, I'll be real, I didn't really enjoy the combat in New World because it was laggy, because there was a lot of lag to deal with it. So like I found it very frustrating, which is why I just did the crafting skills all the time. And then I realized, why am I crafting all these things? I'm never going to use it. But I enjoyed those 50 hours. You know, to be fair, a lot of those 50 hours was listening to podcasts while playing the game. So did I enjoy the game really? I don't know. I feel like that might be another whole topic on itself, because does listening or watching videos while you're playing a video game mean you're still enjoying the game? I think so, personally, maybe. I'd have to think about it a little bit more, but my initial thought process is, yeah, I think I enjoyed those 50 hours of watching or playing New World while listening to podcasts. And for RuneScape, I feel like the game is literally made to be second screen gameplay sometimes. Like, RuneScape is literally made to be that game that you check on, that you come back to eventually, or you play every once in a while. So, I mean, I feel like that's a whole different category of game. At least old school RuneScape. I have never played, I think I've played new school RuneScape or RuneScape 3 or whatever one it's called, but I haven't played a lot of it, so I don't know. So, I feel like it's such a strange conflict of interest for me, because I keep trying to play these types of games, but I keep coming to the same conclusion of, I don't enjoy the massive multiplayer online portion of the massive multiplayer online game, because I enjoy the role playing game part of the MMORPG. I enjoy the RPG part. I don't enjoy the MMO part though. If these were single player games, I'd enjoy them way more. And it's been proven, because some of my favorite games are single player. So it's strange to me that I keep trying to enjoy these types of games. But to be fair, they are generally free to play games. At least modern MMOs are a lot of times free to play. And I also just go back to the ones, like the two MMOs I would argue I've played the most is Star Wars The Old Republic and New World, funny enough, because I guess I did play a lot of World of Warcraft, but not recently. It was only during Warlords of Draenor. I played during Warlords of Draenor for like a month, for maybe a few months, and that was it. And to be fair, I did get max level with one character, which is actually more than I never got to max level in swtor, funny enough, because I kept wanting to play the other stories. And like I said in the very beginning, I was playing a co-op, so we weren't able to play all the time. And so I had multiple characters with different friends. So we would play those characters, and then someone else would get on, so we'd play different characters because we're doing a different playthrough, and then we play a different game because someone else got on. It was a whole mess. It was unfortunate because I really enjoyed playing with them, but it was a mess. We should have just played on our own. But we wanted to do the MMO part. We wanted to be on a massive multiplayer online game. So we wanted to play together, but we just didn't play it that way, because we were trying to play the story together. We weren't trying to get to max level to play dungeons or raids together. We wanted to play the story together. So it was so strange. And so when I say I hate MMOs, I do mean it. I don't like massive multiplayer online games anymore. Maybe I did at one point. Nah, even after I say that, I don't think I ever enjoyed them, because I never played the massive multiplayer online portion of the game. I never partied up. I never tried to do dungeons or raids. All I wanted to do was play a single player game. But for some reason, I keep choosing to play a single player game that connects to a server that has lag. And I honestly don't know why. Maybe it's because I enjoy the grind of MMOs. I enjoy the leveling process of these types of games, because the concept of leveling in an MMO is very different than a single player RPG. You don't level the same way in a single player RPG than you do in an MMO, which makes sense because they're designed to be different. So I enjoy the MMO leveling grinding process, but I don't actually want to be a part of the MMO side of it, which is interesting. And I'm sure, like, if you're a game dev, do you really care? I mean, I'm still generally playing your game, buying it, or, doing whatever I need to do to play the game, so they probably don't care that much. But it's just so interesting to me that I am so detached from the MMO side of when I play MMOs. And I'm not entirely sure if that's a good thing or not. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments down below. And while I do agree with my statement of I hate MMOs, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, or if I'm playing them wrong. I could just be playing them wrong. Who knows? But for the times that I have actually tried to do raiding and dungeoning and stuff like that, I've never enjoyed it. And one of the big MMOs, Final Fantasy XIV, I've never played it, because that's mostly a subscription-based thing. So to be fair, you could play to 60 for free. We've all seen the ad. So maybe I'm missing one of the better ones. So maybe one day I'll try it. So who knows? Let me know what you guys think about in the comments down below. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell if you haven't already. Like the video if you liked it. Dislike it if you dislike it. I completely understand. If you would like to support me directly, I have a Patreon at patreon.com/thetechnojelly. You would join all these nice people in the credits going along the screen. You also get access to a once a month live stream as well as a poll to decide what we do in that live stream. We can hang out and have a discussion exclusively on Patreon, so go over there and check it out. If you'd like to follow me on other platforms, I have a Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Goodbye, everyone.